So it's Friday. Happy Friday, you guys. Today's video that I uploaded is the part 2 of one of my, I think, more dark kind of like videos. Dark in the sense of like, I don't know. It presents me in a light that's not necessarily wonderful, and I know that. And I had lots of time to decide if I wanted to publish those videos. And as I've said in the last video, I was embarrassed about how like I presented, because I talked about the snake people as if that's all they were. They were one-dimensional. Once a snake, always a snake. And that's kind of not how it really is. And there are good elements about them and there are bad elements about them, just like there's good in me and bad in me. And it's that in itself is neither good nor bad. It just is the way it is. It is natural to have jealousy, but at the same time, you know, understanding and kindness. There's all these things that balance us, I feel, but it's only kind of acceptable to talk about the things that are positive traits, or it's only acceptable to talk about the negative traits if you therefore flip it to a positive. It's not really acceptable to just talk about something as if it's neither here nor there, it's neither bad nor good, it just is, and there's no like correction that I'm going to do about it. I feel like that it's kind of like the case with like, I don't know if it's the case with our society, or it's just the case with this particular medium, meaning like telling your stuff on a YouTube video and then explaining it for the world. It's harsh. It's super harsh to like have your things be vulnerable, and then for people to not know you and not care about you and just have unbiased opinions or biased opinions about you, however they formed it. They're not going to be careful with you. In fact, they might want to tear you down for the fun of it, because that's what they do. So it's harsh to get people's feedback about something that you've shared vulnerably to people that you don't know if they're going to be okay with what you're saying, or even understand what you're saying, or even want to understand what you're saying. So what I understood about the last video is that there is a tendency on YouTube that if you're going to share something vulnerable, that, and it's seen in a negative light, it's not just left like that. Because for the viewer, it's like, well, what are you gonna do about this? You're a horrible person. You know what I mean? Like if you therefore don't share some insight into why you're not a horrible person, like the person creating the video needs to control the narrative instead of just letting the narrative be however it wants to be in this space. In this space where people don't watch, don't listen, love sound bites, have very short attention spans. Like, that's a recipe for like sharing super vulnerable things, and then you're gonna be misunderstood. There's just a recipe for that. But at the same time, there is a tendency for the creators I have seen that share the vulnerable things. They want to still control the narrative because they know, it's not just me that knows that, it's they know that that's going to happen and they're gonna get attacked. And it's like easier for the viewer who thinks that whatever the creator is sharing is fucked up or bad, that if the creator themselves knows that it's fucked up or bad, then it won't taint their idea about the viewer is going to give a little bit more leniency to the creator on what they're saying. For example, have you ever watched the Glow Up Diaries? For some reason, I watched the Glow Up Diaries because I thought that I think her name is Andrea? No. Olivia DeAndrea, I think. She's an incredible YouTuber. Incredible. Like, has her own kind of like vibe about her. And it's not even about like the self-help stuff that she talks about. It's in her creation, and it's in her like creativity, and it's just incredible. So it's old, I'm late to the game, but I'm late to the game on everything because I'm not very up on stuff. And so what I noticed was that she was sharing her series, and she was sharing her series in a way that was like okay, so she filmed a bunch of stuff, and then she did a voiceover of why her mindset at the time was either right or not right. It was either healthy or not healthy, or it was like kind of like anticipating the viewer being like, well, that's not really how you glow up, or you know, like all these things. She waited, I think, to like compile a bunch of material, but she also did it in a way that was like, she shared vulnerability with people that were not going to be safe and like respectful of her vulnerability sharing. Like, it's very vulnerable to be like, I have an eating disorder basically, and I have this desire to fix it, but I don't know how to fix it, and I'm gonna show you the depths of my despair. That's really vulnerable to share on YouTube. That's vulnerable to share to anybody, but just like vulnerable to share on YouTube, where it's like very under the pretense of like glowing up, it was just kind of like a shallow thing, like just visually glowing up, right? So anyways, it has the recipe for like an attack disaster. Like, she's very brave to do that, but it was kind of, I understood it as kind of being like, she hedged the bet a little bit on like how much vulnerability she would have to endure once it was published, because she did a voiceover when she came back with her healthier mindset, and she was like, this isn't where I should have been with this mindset, right? So it's kind of like anticipating what the person watching is going to say. And it's like, well, you can't really attack me for this because I already know that it was bad, right? And so it's a different kind of art form when, and I love that about that series. I thought that was great. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that the series in itself was an art, and her creativity speaks for itself, and she didn't need that extra layer of just letting it be. I'm not fancy with my editing, and I'm not even saying that what I do is better or worse. It's just different, and I want to kind of talk about the difference that I saw with what I was doing naturally with my vulnerability. And I just want to talk about that because I found it really fascinating to think about it. YouTube videos are kind of filmed for people to digest easy. That's just the way it is. Like, YouTube loves it when it's easy to digest, it goes viral, blah, 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 blah. All these things, like YouTube promotes that. It promotes the easiest form of stuff to digest. And it doesn't really make YouTube money if I just sit here and talk about like my dating life for an hour, and it doesn't, like, I don't even have ads on my channel yet, right? Like, so the way that I create content is different than how somebody else would create content when money is involved. I understood that she has a different audience. She has a different, she might even just like, you know, be making money off of how she makes her art, and so she has to control the narrative a little bit more, because I don't make money from this. I don't really, like, I'm not trying to be the best, biggest YouTube channel. In fact, I kind of think that I would love it if I could just talk about things in a very real way and then nobody really watches it. That would be amazing, but that's not really what's gonna happen, and that's not, like, it might happen with like the whole money thing. Maybe I'll never get monetized on this particular channel. I was monetized on my last channel, and then at the height of it, it just kind of like went away. And so I know that that's like fleeting, right? So there's like a very big tendency as a YouTube creator to do what makes you more money once you get that money. And so I hope that I never really have to like worry about that whole dynamic. and I'm just gonna like lay it out for you as I see fit, and then you can consume it as you see fit. And I try really hard to not control how you see me. I give you enough context for you to be able to decide how you want to see me. And how you want to see me is as nuanced as you think about things anyways. And so it's like, it's kind of a waste of my time creatively to try to control the narrative. My job is to just kind of like talk about what I found was exciting or interesting or entertaining, or on a developmental level, like something really profound. Like that's my job. My job is to not worry about how you consume it. And so that's how I can create something. I don't want you to know these private things about me, but I think that it's important to understand private things about me and about my experience so that it can ignite something in yourself. Maybe if you're going through a similar thing, you went through a similar thing, or you might in the future see a similar thing happen to somebody else or yourself, and you can have a little bit of understanding about it. That's all I'm trying to do. So the way that Olivia was going about her series was that she, I think, was anticipating a lot of people being like, if she had just left her mindset as it was and she didn't have the correction of the mindset with like her current self, filming the voiceover and then implementing that into the instances in which the bad mindset was really obvious, it prevented people, the audience, from being like just super attacky on her, because that doesn't feel good. My last video that I published last week was the first time that I released something vulnerable to people that have no, they have nothing in them that would make them kind of nice to me inherently. Right? It's just kind of like, it is what it is. And so people said what they wanted to say because they didn't have to say something nice to me because they had no tie to me. So it was just released into the wild, something vulnerable. And it was the first time since I've been a creator that I released something so vulnerable that so many people like decided to attack me in such like a nasty way. And I've never really like experienced that. And so I can understand from a creator standpoint how I would want to mitigate that next time. And so therefore I could alter how I was going to be perceived. I feel like Olivia was like anticipating being perceived as like, what a hypocrite, or like all these negative things. And that's hard to take from thousands of people that have opinions about what you're doing, especially when she's popular. I'm not popular, but at the same time, I really hope that if I ever do get popular, that I just continue with that kind of mindset of like, I don't want to control how you think of me. I don't need you to think of me in a positive light in order for you to consume my content or for me to make content for you. I want to follow what my motivations for things are, and I want to follow them authentically, and I want to follow what I think is good or bad, or what I think is important to share. I don't necessarily need to be seen by you in a good light in order for me to think it's important to share that. I can in fact be seen in a bad light, and as long as it's real, and as long as like there's some sort of element of like it's worth the vulnerability by sharing it because it like allows some sort of greater sense of truth, then I will share it. The way that I want to create right now is that like I want to just say things and I don't want to worry about your interpretation as a person that's consuming. I don't care if you get it. I don't care if you think that I'm a horrible person, and I don't care if you think I'm a great person. Like, in fact, I hope that you don't have any of those extremes. Like, I think that it's just more reasonable to think that it's whatever I'm doing and whatever I'm saying, it's all like encapsulated in little situations. And like, hopefully you can feel my vibe, that my vibe is overall positive, or that my vibe is overall, I want to grow. I hope that you can feel that, but if you can't feel that, and if you know, if that isn't where I'm leading you overall, because that's my overall aura of my whole entire being, then maybe I've done my job wrong. But you know, like I can't really help that. And so like that's not my job as a person to create. It gets in the way of the art if I am stuck on how I'm being seen. And I think I just wanted to talk about that. I can see it from other people's perspectives that they need to sacrifice a little bit of their art in order for them to keep sharing the vulnerable, in order for them to keep making the content so that they can make some money. Like I understand that like the way that I share, without kind of like a safety net of like how to shift the perspective after I've shared something, I'm not really getting anything from it. And so what I'm getting from it, what I have been getting from it from the very beginning and up until right now, is that the art form is pure, because it's how I really feel, or it's how I really like felt about what I've done, or about what's happened, or about what I've thought about, or about what I've, you know, experienced, or whatever, what I've noticed. And I've never tried to sell it in a package deal that was like, listen to me, this is my advice. And so that is why I think it's very like, it's very different when I share my vulnerable things. But to like, I want to be able to talk about that with you as the consumer, because even though a YouTuber is a YouTuber, there are different types of YouTubers amongst this platform, and there's different things that are influencing them. Just like an indie movie is different than a blockbuster, I think everybody can kind of get that. There's different end goals with what's happening with that. But when you're talking about deep and profound things on a medium where like there's a lot of people doing the exact same thing, it doesn't like, it's not unique to like sit down and like talk to you guys with a camera. I open my mouth and like I just put it on the, you know, YouTube. But what my motive is, and like what I'm doing with my mouth and then putting it online, it's different. It's different than what other people are doing. And I just want to kind of like explain to you that the art of it, and then the consumption of the art of it by you, is perhaps the thing that is kind of special, because it's not tainted by other things. It's not tainted by my desire to be liked by you. I don't care. That's nice if you do, and thank you. But it's also okay if you don't, and thank you. I'm not trying to alter that in any way, except for I hope that you're just open-minded. I knew what I was sharing was going to make you see me differently. That's the point of context. But it was always my intention to like give you multiple sides of who I am. I'm not something that you can just put in a box. I'm not, oh, this girl is wholesome and good, or oh, this girl is slutty and like a bad person, or oh, this girl is like a go-getter, oh, this girl is like, she's stuck in life, or like I'm all of those things. And I'm none of those judgments, or I'm all of those judgments. It just is. And like, I'm not fighting it, and I'm not trying to correct it, and I'm not trying to prevent your judgment, and I'm not trying to put the gas on your judgment. I'm just trying to explain to you that creating a YouTube video for people to misjudge you is hard work. You know going in that you're going to be misjudged. So I feel like that's why a lot of people don't do this. It feels uncomfortable. It feels super uncomfortable, actually. And especially for me that loves context. And like, to have people not get certain quality things about me, or to get it so wrong, it like irritates me. but it also is a wonderful kind of like experiment to see how much irritation that I can handle. I try really hard to not control the narrative so much that you don't have enough context either way, good or bad, whatever, to make your own judgments about what I'm saying. Not about who I am as a person, not about like what this story is. It's like, I just want you to think about things. I don't really care if the narrative is good or bad. If what I thought about myself that week was bad and I needed to think about that in terms of something bad that week in order to get me to something more positive later, I'm gonna share with you that journey because that's how it went. It took me a long time to understand that I should not try to be understood. That was really hard for me. But I began to understand it as I began to be attacked last week about things that I've said. And it was the first time, like I said, first major time where somebody, or a lot of people, like relatively lot, I made videos about makeup for like, I don't know, 6-7 years, and then I transitioned a little bit more into vloggy stuff, and then a little bit more toward the end of my reign on my previous channel about more personal things. But I never really took as deep of a dive into like, hey, this is how I really think about things, and this is what I really care about, and it's different than most people, and this is how I go about it, and this is the outcome of it, and it's not always great. This is the first time that I've taken that much creative risk in showing people that are not safe my things. And I even made a video last week about like, hey, I've tested the waters with people in my real life, and it's taken me years to tell them certain truths that I thought that they might be judgy on. At the same time, there's this like little meta game going on, because as I'm delivering that, I know that for a fact that I am taking risks telling people something that you might be judgy on, and you don't know me. I don't know you for years, and you have no, like, there's no connection to me personally, really. And so if you want to judge me, you can, and you don't have any like there's nothing to hold you back from like saying the worst things that you can think about to me. And so it's like, I'm telling you in a video that I've decided to pick and choose people to be safe with my things, and that they can understand things back, and that there's this nice form of a relationship where people can handle more than I thought they could, and they can handle more than I thought they could. But at the same time, I'm delivering that to people that are strangers. And so I'm thinking that you can handle more than what you thought. I can handle more than what I thought. So it's this fun thing for me to like tell you how my real life is going, but also it's like this own little challenge to do it in front of people that don't necessarily have your back, and do it without the safety nets of a voiceover, or with the safety nets of like controlling the narrative. I'm trying to just let it be how it is, really trying. So I'm trying to give you as much context as I possibly can within like a certain amount of time. And like if I was a control freak, this wouldn't be happening. Like I would just be like, you have to watch until the end, when I know for a fact that people watch 6 minutes in and then they dump the video. They don't even get it to the end, and I can't even control what you understand if you do watch every single video from start to finish. I can't control that. And so part of this is like, it's like a letting go process on a grand scale. And it's kind of exciting. And this, what I bring this up, it's like, that's interesting from like a creator and then viewer point of view thing. Like I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I found that fascinating to think about, and I like to share that kind of thing. But I'm seeing how it's trickling down into like my real life. I own the fact that I cannot control the narrative of everybody. I used to be a people pleaser. I never really truly cared too much about if people saw, like how people saw me, because I just naturally thought that how people saw me was good. And so like I didn't do too many bad things. Like I was such a good people pleaser that like in effect, by default, I didn't really have to worry if people saw me in a bad light, because I just did people pleasing things. People pleaser doesn't really do that much outside the box to be seen in a bad light. So that never really got into my head of like being kind of judged in a bad light. But now that I do things for myself and I'm not a people pleaser, I have my own moral compass to uphold. And you know, I judge my own actions upon, you know, how I've defined my own code of ethics and things. And so it might be different than what the general public has decided should be moral or whatever, in a lot of different ways, not just dating or not just how I act, you know, in that sense, but like in a lot of different fashions. Seeing if I can walk the walk and talk the talk. It's like, but I'm not even trying to do that, but I'm seeing that I'm doing that a little bit. It's like seeing what I can handle, and it's kind of like a fun little game that I play by myself. And it's like, I am going to show the world me, and I'm going to see what I do with that. I'm going to show the world a little bit more of me, and I'm going to see what I do with that. And it's kind of like on a very small scale, because not that many people watch my stuff. But it's interesting to me because it allows me to be just fully who I am when nobody's watching. It allows me to be fully who I am when I'm with people that I need to make boundaries. And it's allowing me to like just understand different elements of myself, and just sit comfortably instead of uncomfortably. Without trying to alter how people see me or waste time on that. Not that that's a waste, that is a waste of time for me. That might not be a waste of time for you, because maybe perception is reality and perception is really important to you. And I can't even begin to imagine how complicated that is for certain people, wrapped up in your self-worth. That is not how it is for me, and it never really was, even when I was a people pleaser. And so it's fun for me to like see how bad I can be, you know, like I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to like see how authentic I can be, I think is a better explanation of see how bad I can be. Because how I am is not always the most proper girl. How I am is not always the most, and like I'm not trying to be that. I'm just trying to put actions towards the things that I want to prioritize in my life and see how that works out. That's all I'm trying to do. And just be a happy, like good person based on the things that I think are good. So I wanted to thank you for watching and thank you for listening, and I will see you guys next Friday.